My wife shouted that marrying me was a mistake and claimed she deserved someone better. After everything I'd quietly put up with, that was the breaking point. I had her served with divorce papers and sent clear proof of her affair directly to her sister. I can still hear the venom in her voice, the day my wife screamed that she regretted every single day she'd ever spent with me. What she didn't know was that I was already quietly documenting every sordid detail of her affair, ready to watch her entire world, and her lovers, burn to the ground. This isn't just a story, it's a lesson in what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. My name's Mason. I'm 43. For the last 15 years, I've run construction crews. My life was simple: wake up at 5 a.m., work hard, come home covered in dirt from honest labor, and make good money. I've built half the commercial buildings in this county with my own 2 hands. I was fine with that. Sabrina, my ex-wife, was not. We met 7 years ago at a garden center. She was standing there, in this bright yellow sundress, looking at paint samples like they'd personally offended her. Her makeup was perfect, but the frustration was bubbling over. I asked if she needed help. She looked me up and down, taking in my work boots, the plaster-stained jeans, my faded company shirt. "You look like you might actually know what any of this means," she said, with a smirk. That was a backhanded compliment if I ever heard one, full of attitude. Honestly, I should have just walked away, but she was stunning, and I'd been single for 3 years. So, I helped her. Explained the difference between oil and water-based stains, even made her laugh telling her about the time I stained a whole deck the wrong color. We ended up having lunch that day. She talked about renovating her condo, making it look like it jumped right out of a magazine. I liked her energy, her ambition. We dated for about 1.5 years, then I proposed. We had a small ceremony 5 years ago. Looking back, I was so caught up in building what I thought was our future, I completely missed the glaring red flags during our engagement. After we got married, she moved into my house with 4 suitcases, a collection of expensive candles, and opinions on absolutely everything I owned. She started rearranging furniture, hanging art, buying these ridiculously expensive throw pillows. At first, I didn't mind. The house felt more lived in, more like a home. Those early days were good. We'd have little arguments, sure, but they felt normal. She'd call me boring, I'd tell her she was high maintenance. Then we'd just end up laughing about it. But around month 9 of our marriage, something shifted. Her sister, Christine, and Christine's husband, Jordan, came over for dinner. Jordan was one of those finance guys, works in Newport Beach, always in expensive suits, talks about investment portfolios at barbecues. Just a real joy to be around. That night, Sabrina couldn't stop comparing. Jordan just bought Christine a Lexus for her birthday. "What did you get me?" "A gift card to Target." She laughed, but I could tell she wasn't joking. "Jordan's taking Christine to Cabo next month." "When's the last time we went anywhere?" I'd literally just brought her Chinese food and fixed her garbage disposal that same week. Apparently, that didn't count. Those comparisons became a regular thing. Jordan's job, Jordan's car, Jordan's house in Corona del March. I started noticing Sabrina would go all out every time we had dinner with them, new outfits, extra makeup, laughing a little too loud at his mediocre jokes. It got worse over the next few months. She'd mention how Jordan took Christine to all these fancy restaurants in LA. Meanwhile, I was working 60-hour weeks, bringing home decent money. I cleared about $92,000 a year after taxes, which isn't bad for the Inland Empire. But to Sabrina, it might as well have been poverty. "Jordan's making partner next year," she said one night over takeout Thai food. "He'll probably clear $300,000. I looked up from my pad Thai. "Good for him." She set down her fork, her eyes narrowed. "Don't you want more than this?" I just wanted to eat my dinner in peace. That became our pattern. Every single conversation somehow circled back to what I wasn't doing, what I wasn't providing, what I wasn't becoming. I paid the mortgage, her car payment for a Mazda she insisted she needed, $485 a month. I covered groceries, utilities, her gym membership that she used maybe twice a month. I covered everything while she worked part-time at a boutique in Murrieta, bringing in maybe $1,500 a month that went straight to shopping and dinners with friends. But sure, I was the one lacking ambition. There was this one dinner at their place in Corona del Mar that still sticks with me. Jordan was grilling steaks on their massive outdoor kitchen setup, going on and on about some deal he'd closed, how he'd made the company an extra $2 million in revenue. Sabrina was hanging on his every word, actually leaning forward, eyes wide, asking questions. I hadn't seen her that interested in anything in months. Earlier that day, I told her about landing a contract for a 4-building complex in Rancho Cucamonga, the biggest project my crew had ever handled, worth about $3 million total. She'd barely looked up from her phone, just said, "That's nice," and went back to scrolling. On the drive home that night, she was quiet for about 10 minutes. Then, Jordan really knows how to provide for Christine. I just stared at the road. Bills are paid. House is paid off. You have everything you need. It's not the same. Jordan's building something, creating opportunities. You're just doing the same thing you've always done. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Another time, Christine showed up to a family barbecue with a new Gucci bag. Sabrina saw it and her whole face changed. "Oh my God, that's gorgeous. Jordan got that for you." Christine nodded, looking almost embarrassed. Sabrina turned to me, a flat smile on her face. "Maybe you should take notes. I just bought her a weekend trip to San Diego the month before. Paid for a nice hotel, dinners, the whole thing. Dropped almost $800. But that didn't count because it wasn't a status symbol she could show off to her friends. I mentioned it once. She went nuclear. You're seriously jealous of my sister's husband. How insecure are you?" So, I dropped it. But things just kept getting worse. I'd come home from managing a job site, dirty and exhausted, and she'd be on the couch scrolling through her phone. Wouldn't even look up. "Dinner's cold. I'll heat it up." She'd just shrug, like whether I ate or starved didn't matter to her either way. Other nights she'd come home late, smelling like expensive perfume. I'd be watching some random show just to have noise in the house. "You're still awake." Like my existence in my own living room was somehow weird. I started sleeping on the couch some nights, just to avoid the tension in our bedroom. You ever live with someone and feel more alone than when you lived by yourself? That was me for about 8 months straight. The daily humiliations just got worse. Sabrina stopped even pretending to hide her contempt. One night, I came home after 12 hours supervising a commercial pour. My back was destroyed, hands cramped, the kind of tired where you can barely think straight. She was on the couch in the dark, just the TV lighting up her face. I flipped on the kitchen light, started unpacking my lunch bag. You ever think about how mediocre your life is? She didn't even look at me. "Excuse me." You wake up, go to the same job, come home covered in dirt. Other people are out there closing deals, taking clients to steakhouses, actually building something. You're just maintaining. I gripped the counter, knuckles white. "You think I like coming home to this?" She turned then, her face hard. "You chose this boring life." "I chose a stable job that pays the bills." Jordan would never settle for stable. There it was, Jordan again. I should have called it right there. Instead, I went and took a shower. The water was so hot it burned, trying to wash off the feeling that I'd somehow failed at being a man without even realizing it. The fights became routine. She'd pick at me just to see if she could get a reaction. I'd be trying to eat dinner, and she'd start about how small my aspirations were, how I was wasting my potential, how some people actually wanted more out of life. I kept my mouth shut most times, not because I'm weak, but because I was calculating. I was trying to figure out if this marriage was salvageable, or if I was just delaying the inevitable. My buddy Louise from work started noticing. We were doing a final walkthrough on a project in San Juan Capistrano when he pulled me aside. "You look like you haven't slept in a month, man." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. What's going on?" I just shrugged. "Wife stuff." He nodded. Didn't push. Just said, "You need anything? You let me know." That small gesture meant more than he probably realized. Louise had been on my crew for almost 10 years. Good guy, solid worker, the kind of person who shows up when things get rough. He'd been through a divorce himself about 5 years back. Never talked about it much, but I could see in his eyes that he recognized what I was going through. The next day, he brought an extra sandwich to the site, set it down next to me during lunch without saying anything. Just a simple gesture that said, "I see you're going through it." That's the kind of friend worth keeping. Around this time, Christine, Sabrina's sister, started calling me. Usually, it was about family dinner plans, but one time her voice had this strange edge to it. "Mason, can we talk about Sabrina?" "What about her?" She paused. "I know things haven't been great. She's always been like this. Never satisfied, always comparing." I waited. Every boyfriend, every job, every apartment. Nothing was ever good enough. "I thought maybe with you it would be different because you're so stable." "But I'm not Jordan," I finished for her. A long silence. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." We hung up shortly after. I sat in my truck outside the house for 20 minutes, trying to decide if I was being paranoid or if my gut was telling me something real. 3 days later, I came home early. The project got rained out. I sent the crew home at noon. Sabrina's car was in the driveway. So was Jordan's Tesla. I walked in quietly, voices coming from the living room. I stopped in the hallway, my hand already reaching for my phone. Can't keep doing this, that was Jordan. Why not? You're not happy either, Sabrina's voice, low and almost playful. That tone she used to use with me in the early days. Christine doesn't deserve this. And he does. He's completely oblivious. Probably wouldn't even care if he found out. I stood there, hand on my phone, every muscle locked. Part of me wanted to burst in, make a scene, shout, break things. But that's not how you win. You win by staying calm, by documenting. We need to stop before this blows up, Jordan said. Or we could just be smarter about it. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I heard movement, pulled out my phone, switched it to video, and stepped around the corner. They were on the couch, not in some compromising position, but close enough. Jordan's hand on her knee, her leaning into him. Both of them froze when they saw me. Hey, I said, casual as hell, phone recording. Didn't know we were having company. Jordan stood up fast. Man, it's not, save it, I cut him off, still recording. Get out of my house. He didn't argue. Grabbed his keys and left without a word. Sabrina stood up, trying to regain control. You're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? How long? Nothing happened. You're being ridiculous. How long? She crossed her arms. A few months. And before you start crying about it, we never actually did anything. We just talked. Right. Talked. Is that why you kept comparing me to him? Is that why you got dressed up every time we saw them? Her face went red. You don't own me. Get out. She blinked. What? Pack a bag. Get out of my house tonight. Her shock turned to rage. You can't kick me out. You've got 1 hour. She started yelling, but I just walked past her, went to the bedroom, and pulled out my laptop. I started organizing every file I had. Bank statements, mortgage papers, text messages I'd screenshotted over the past few months. I pulled the video I just took and backed it up to 3 different places. Then I did something that felt cold but necessary. I went through her phone records online. Our cell plan was in my name, so I had access. I downloaded 6 months of call logs and text summaries. The patterns were obvious once you looked. Calls to Jordan's number at weird hours. Long conversations late at night. Days when she'd text him 50 times while barely texting me at all. I pulled up specific dates. February 14th, Valentine's Day. She'd called Jordan 3 times that day, total talk time over an hour. Called me once to ask when I'd be home. March 22nd, our wedding anniversary. She texted Jordan 47 times. Texted me twice, both about errands she needed me to run. The pattern repeated. Every important date, every evening I worked late, every weekend I had to go in for emergencies. She was talking to him. I cross-referenced the call logs with our credit card statements. Days she'd tell me she was shopping or meeting a friend, there'd be charges at restaurants in Newport Beach, right near Jordan's office. Coffee shops, bars, even a hotel once, $192 at a Marriott, though she'd claimed that was for a girls' trip with Christine. Funny how Christine had been at work that day, according to her own Facebook check-in. I compiled everything into a folder. The video, the call logs, bank records, credit card statements showing suspicious charges. It took me 1 hour. By the time I was done, Sabrina had thrown some clothes in a suitcase and was standing in the living room, her face streaked with angry tears. This is insane. You're ruining everything over nothing. I handed her a printed copy of the call logs. You've talked to your sister's husband more than me in the last 6 months. She looked at the papers, then at me. You're really doing this? Yeah. She grabbed her suitcase. Everyone's going to know what a controlling psycho you are. Tell whoever you want. I've got the receipts. She slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I stood there in the quiet house, phone heavy in my hand, and thought about what came next. That first night alone was strange. Not sad, just different. I ordered a pizza, sat on the couch, and went through everything again. Made sure I had it all locked down. The video was clean. Audio was clear. You could hear Sabrina talking about me like I was some oblivious idiot. You could see Jordan's hand on her knee, her leaning into him, timestamps showing it was the middle of a Tuesday when both of them were supposed to be doing other things. The call logs were damning. Hundreds of calls over 5 months, some lasting an hour or more. Text records showed subject lines and timestamps, but not full content. Still enough to establish a pattern. Still enough to show this wasn't some innocent friendship. I sat there thinking about Christine. Sabrina's sister had always been decent to me. She'd brought food when I'd had surgery last year. Remembered my birthday every single year, usually with a card and a gift card to Home Depot because she knew I was always working on projects. She never talked down to me the way Sabrina did. Christine was quiet, seemed genuinely happy in her marriage. Or at least she had seemed happy. She deserved to know. But I also knew what would happen when I sent it. The family would fracture. Sabrina would paint me as the villain who destroyed everything out of spite. Some people would believe her version of events. Christine's whole life would implode. Her marriage, her stability, her trust in the people closest to her. I sat there for a long time, staring at the folder of evidence on my laptop. Part of me wondered if ignorance really was bliss. If maybe Christine was better off not knowing. But then I thought about the last year of my own marriage. All those nights I sensed something was wrong, but couldn't prove it. All those times Sabrina gaslit me into thinking I was paranoid, jealous, controlling. How much better would it have been if someone had just told me the truth 6 months earlier? A year earlier? I would have wanted to know. And Christine deserved the same. But I'm not an idiot. It needed to be strategic. First, I made copies of everything. Then I called a divorce attorney. Got referred to a guy named Klein in Riverside who came highly recommended. Made an appointment for the next morning. That night, I barely slept. Kept thinking about the last 7 years. How I'd worked my tail off to give Sabrina a comfortable life. How she'd thrown it back in my face over and over. How she'd chosen her sister's husband, of all people, to have an emotional affair with. The disrespect was almost impressive. The next morning, I met with Klein. I brought all my documentation. He looked through it, his expression never changing, then leaned back in his chair. This is thorough. He even smiled a little. Property in your name only. Yeah. Bought it 3 years before we met. She contribute to the mortgage. Not a cent. I've got every bank statement going back 7 years. He nodded, making notes. Joint accounts. 1 checking. I'm the primary. She uses it for groceries and personal stuff. Major purchases. Her car, but it's in her name. I just make the payments. He looked up. You're still paying for her car. Was. Haven't paid this month's yet. Don't. Not until we sort this out. How do you want to proceed? Fast. Clean. I want her out of my life. Any kids? No. That simplifies things. I can have papers drawn up by tomorrow. Let's do it. I left his office feeling lighter than I had in months. Spent the rest of the day at work running a crew on a medical building in Corona. Kept my phone on silent. Luis pulled me aside during lunch. You good? You seem different. Filed for divorce this morning. He didn't look surprised. About time, man. That obvious? You've been walking around like someone died. Now you look focused. Yeah, I said, a slow smile spreading. I know exactly what I'm doing now. That evening, I got a text from Sabrina. She was staying at Christine's. The irony wasn't lost on me. We need to talk about this like adults. I didn't respond. Let her sit with that silence. 2 hours later, you're really not going to answer me. Still nothing. An hour after that, my phone rang. Christine. Hey, Mason. Can we talk? Her voice was tight. Sure. Sabrina's really upset. She said you threw her out over nothing. She said you accused her of having an affair with Jordan. I waited. Did she show you the video? Silence. What video? The one I took of them on my couch. Yesterday. Long pause. She said they were just talking. They've been talking for 5 months. Hundreds of calls. Late night texts. She talks to your husband more than she talks to me. Christine's voice got smaller. How do you know that? Call logs. Want me to send them? Another long silence. Is this real? Yeah. She hung up. 3 days went by. Sabrina kept texting, demanding we talk, saying I was being immature, threatening to take half of everything, even though she knew the house was mine. I didn't respond to any of it. Klein called. Papers are ready. Want me to have her served? Yeah. Home address. I gave him Christine's address, where Sabrina was staying. Figured that would add some extra impact. But before the papers got served, I decided to handle something else first. I opened up a new email. Attached the video file. Attached the call logs showing Sabrina and Jordan's hundreds of conversations. Attached screenshots of the credit card charges at restaurants near his office. Attached the hotel receipt. I wrote a simple message: Christine, Sabrina, and Jordan have been having an affair for at least 5 months. Here's the proof. You deserve better than this. Sent it. Then I sat back and waited for the fallout. Didn't take long. 20 minutes later, my phone started blowing up. Sabrina calling. I declined. Christine calling. I let it go to voicemail. Jordan calling. Declined that too. Finally, I answered when Christine called for the 3rd time. Mason, are you serious right now? Is this real? Her voice was shaking, cracking. Yeah. I could hear her crying. I'm looking at the video right now. She couldn't finish. I'm so sorry. Does Jordan know you sent this? Probably does by now. He's not answering his phone. Neither is Sabrina. They're both calling me but won't pick up when I call them back. Does that tell you anything? She made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Everything. We talked for about 10 more minutes. She asked questions, I answered honestly. By the end, she'd stopped crying and started getting angry. Thank you for telling me, she said finally. You deserve to know. Yeah. I did. She paused. What are you going to do? Already filed for divorce. She's getting served tomorrow. Good. We hung up and I felt something like relief. Not happiness, not satisfaction. Just the feeling that I'd done the right thing, even though it was messy. That night, Sabrina showed up at my house, pounding on the door at almost 10 p.m. Open up. We need to talk right now. I looked through the window. She was alone. Looked like she'd been crying, but her face was twisted with pure rage. I opened the door, but stood in the frame. Didn't let her in. You sent that to Christine. Are you insane? She deserved to know. It wasn't an affair. We never slept together. Yeah, sure. You destroyed my relationship with my sister. Christine won't even talk to me. Jordan won't talk to me. You did that yourself. She tried to push past me. I didn't move. You're not coming in. This is my house, too. No, it's my house. Always has been. And you're getting divorce papers served tomorrow. Her face went white. You filed? Yeah. A few days ago. You can't do this. Already did. She started screaming, calling me every name in the book, saying I'd ruined her life, destroyed her family, turned everyone against her. I let her finish. Then I said, very calmly, you did this to yourself. I hate you, she whispered, her voice ragged. Good. Makes the divorce easier. I closed the door. She pounded on it for another minute before finally leaving. I went to bed. And I slept like a baby. The process server caught Sabrina at a coffee shop in Laguna Beach 2 days later. Apparently, she made a scene. Refused to take the papers at first. The server had to leave them on the table in front of witnesses. The whole thing was documented. Klein called me with an update. She's not going quietly. Didn't expect her to. She hired David Kellerman, expensive guy. He's already filing for delays and requesting spousal support. I almost laughed. Spousal support. She lived rent-free for 5 years. California law says she can request it. Doesn't mean she'll get it, but we have to fight it. Fine. Klein paused. Her attorney's also claiming you were financially controlling, that you isolated her. She worked part-time by choice. Made about $18,000 a year and spent most of it on clothes. Good. Get me her pay stubs, tax returns, too. Already have them. I filed jointly every year. Perfect. Over the next 2 weeks, Sabrina went off the rails. She posted on Facebook about how I'd emotionally abused her and thrown her out with no warning, how I'd fabricated evidence out of jealousy. Some of her friends rallied around her, posting about toxic masculinity and financial abuse. But most people who knew us didn't buy it. My buddies from work called out the lies in the comments. Luis posted a simple, "That's not even close to the truth." A few other guys from the crew chimed in with similar comments. I didn't respond to any of it. Just screenshotted everything and sent it to Klein. Luis came by my house one evening with some takeout. Saw the Facebook drama, he said, handing me a container of orange chicken. Yeah, she's going nuclear. You doing okay? Honestly, better than I've been in a year. He nodded. You look better. Like you're actually sleeping. I am. The house is quiet. No one's criticizing everything I do. It's nice. You hear from Christine? Yeah. She filed for divorce, too. Kicked Jordan out the same day I sent the video. Damn. Yeah. Their whole family's imploding. Sabrina's blaming me for all of it. That's insane. We ate in silence for a while. The quiet felt comfortable. Then Luis said, You seeing anyone? What? No, the divorce isn't even final. There's this woman in the office. Kelly. She handles our permits and billing. She's asked about you a couple times. I looked at him. Asked what? How you're doing. If you're okay. She noticed Sabrina doesn't come by the office anymore. And, she seems interested. That's all I'm saying. I'm not ready for that. Fair enough. But when you are, just know she's cool, smart, funny. Actually appreciates people who work for a living. Noted. A week later, I ran into Kelly at the office. I was dropping off signed contracts when she flagged me down. Hey, you got a second? Sure. She pulled me into an empty conference room, closed the door behind us. I heard about what happened. I'm really sorry. Thanks. Luis mentioned you're handling it well. Trying to. She hesitated, like she was choosing her words carefully. Look, I don't want to overstep, but if you ever want to grab coffee or lunch, I'm around. No pressure, just if you need someone to talk to who's not involved in all the drama. I looked at her. She was probably mid-30s, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. No fancy clothes or makeup, just jeans and a company shirt with our logo on it. She had this direct way of looking at you that felt honest, real. Just a straightforward offer from someone who seemed genuinely kind. I appreciate that. Maybe once the divorce is final and things calm down. She smiled. No pressure. I just wanted you to know the offer's there whenever you're ready. As I walked back to my truck, I realized I was smiling. First time in months that happened naturally, without forcing it. Meanwhile, Sabrina kept escalating. She showed up at the job site one day, demanding to talk to me in front of my crew. Walked right past the safety barriers like she owned the place. I walked her back to my truck before it became a bigger scene. You need to drop this divorce, she said, no preamble. Not happening. I'll fight you on everything. Go ahead. I'll tell everyone what you really are. I've got documentation of everything. You want to play this game? I'll bury you. She looked genuinely shocked. When did you become such a hard piece of work? Around the time you told me you regretted every day with me. Her face twisted. I didn't mean it like that. Yeah, you did. She tried a different angle, softened her voice. We can fix this. Work through it. Start over. No. Why not? Because I don't love you anymore. She went pale. That's not fair. Neither was any of this. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot. Klein fought like hell. Sabrina's attorney tried every delay tactic, but we had too much documentation. Every claim she made fell apart. She claimed she'd contributed to the household. We showed bank records proving otherwise. 5 years of statements showing I paid everything. Her contributions totaled maybe $8,000, mostly for groceries and her own expenses. She claimed I'd been financially abusive. We showed her credit card statements, over $12,000 in clothing in the last year alone, another $4,000 on dinners and entertainment. She claimed the affair never happened. We played the video in the judge's chambers. Klein also submitted the call logs and credit card charges showing her repeatedly meeting Jordan. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Nolan. She watched the video without expression, reviewed the documentation, then looked at Sabrina's attorney. Your client wants spousal support after living rent-free for 5 years. Kellerman tried to salvage it. Your Honor, my client needs temporary support while she transitions. Your client has a job and a college degree. That was it. Took 4 months total. The judge granted the divorce, gave her nothing. Walking out of that courthouse felt like being released from prison. Luis threw me a small party at his place a few days later. Just a few guys from the crew, some food. Kelly showed up, too. We talked most of the night, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could just exist. You seem lighter, she said at one point. I am. That whole thing was like carrying around a backpack full of bricks. What's next? I don't know. Maybe fix up the house. Maybe take a vacation. She smiled. Good options. A few weeks later, I asked her to dinner. Nothing fancy. Just a steakhouse in Murrieta that I liked. She said yes. We met on a Saturday evening. She was wearing a dress, but nothing over the top. Hair down, minimal makeup. She looked comfortable in her own skin. Conversation flowed easy. We talked about work, about the industry, about her 2 kids from a previous marriage. She asked about my divorce without being nosy. I gave her the Cliff Notes. You're better off, she said. Yeah, I know. You seeing anyone else? Just you. Good. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't stepping into drama. I laughed. My life is the least complicated it's been in 5 years. We were halfway through our steaks when I saw her. Sabrina. Walking into the restaurant. Christine was with her, trying to hold her back. They spotted me immediately. I kept my expression neutral. This should be interesting. Kelly followed my gaze. Is that her? Yeah. Sabrina made a beeline for our table. Christine was trying to stop her, but she shook her off. A few other diners turned to look. You're already seeing someone. Not quite yelling, but close. I set down my fork. Walk away, Sabrina. We've been separated for 4 months and divorced for 2. You destroyed my family and now you're here with some replacement. Kelly started to stand. I put a hand on her arm. Don't. Sabrina turned on her. Who are you? Someone who's not having an affair with her sister's husband, Kelly said calmly. Walk away. Sabrina's face went red. You don't know anything. I know enough. He told me everything. Christine finally caught up and grabbed Sabrina's arm. Stop. You're making a scene. Stay out of this. No. This is exactly why we're not speaking. You can't take responsibility for anything. You destroyed your marriage. You destroyed mine. Now stop. Sabrina looked at her sister. I can't believe you're taking his side. There are no sides. Just the truth. The restaurant manager appeared. Middle-aged guy in a suit, looking uncomfortable. I'm going to have to ask you ladies to leave. Sabrina looked around, finally realizing everyone was staring. Some people even had their phones out. Her face crumpled. This is your fault, she said to me, her voice breaking. She turned and practically ran for the exit. Christine gave me an apologetic look before following. The manager apologized, comped our desserts. The other diners went back to their meals after a few seconds of lingering stares. Kelly looked at me. Well, that was something. Yeah. She smiled. Smart man. I have my moments. She reached out and squeezed my hand. I'd like to do this again. Yeah, me too. I watched her drive away later, then got in my truck. Sat there for a minute, thinking about how different everything felt now. Just me. Finally free. 6 months later, life had settled into something I didn't know was possible. Kelly and I had been seeing each other regularly. Nothing rushed, no pressure, just 2 people who'd both been through bad marriages, figuring out what healthy looked like. She came over one Saturday to help me finish painting the living room. We'd stripped out all the colors Sabrina had chosen, the beiges and creams, and gone with a soft gray. This looks good, Kelly said, stepping back to admire the wall. The whole house felt different now. I'd replaced the couch where I'd caught Sabrina and Jordan. Donated it to Goodwill the week after she moved out. Bought a new one that I actually liked. Leather, comfortable, no memories attached to it. Rearranged the furniture. Hung pictures I wanted to see. Made the place feel like it belonged to me instead of feeling like I was a guest in someone else's vision. Kelly noticed the changes every time she came over. How long since the divorce finalized? 8 months. You hear from her at all? Not directly. Luis mentioned she moved back in with her parents in Orange County. Christine completely cut her off. Jordan, too. Their whole family fractured. She nodded. What about Christine? We text sometimes. She thanked me again for telling her the truth. Said she wishes I'd done it sooner. She's doing better now. Dating someone new. Actually seems happy. Kelly smiled. Good for her. We worked in comfortable silence for a while. When we finished, we sat on the back patio with some drinks and watched the sunset. The neighbor's dog was barking somewhere. Then my doorbell rang. Kelly looked at me. Expecting someone? Nope. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. Jordan. Standing there, hands in his pockets, looking around like he was casing the place. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. What do you want? He looked past me, saw Kelly through the window. Can we talk alone? No. Say what you came to say. He shifted his weight. Look, man. I know things got messy, but you didn't have to destroy my entire life over it. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself. Christine took everything in the divorce, the house, the cars, half my retirement. I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment in Costa Mesa. His face hardened. And you cost me a $300,000 a year lifestyle because you couldn't handle your wife talking to someone else. I almost laughed. You had your hand on her knee in my house, planning how to hide it from your wife. Don't act like I'm the bad guy here. It wasn't even physical. Doesn't matter. You chose to sneak around. You chose to lie. Now you're dealing with the consequences. He took a step closer, trying to intimidate me. You know what I think? I think you were jealous Sabrina saw what a real man looked like, and you couldn't handle it. I didn't move, just stared at him until he took a step back. You done? I asked. I could sue you for defamation, for intentional infliction of emotional distress. With what proof? Everything I sent Christine was true. You want to take me to court? Go ahead. See how that works out for you. His jaw clenched. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. He stood there for a few seconds, probably trying to think of some comeback. Nothing came. He turned and walked back to his car. I watched him leave, then went back inside. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. I opened it. I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything and everyone around you just so you could feel like a victim. I'll never forgive you for what you did to me. Remember that karma will get you. Sabrina. Still blaming me. Had the nerve to tell me about karma. I didn't reply. Just laughed and blocked the number. Let her be miserable. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Being happy. Moving on while they're still stuck in the past, bitter and alone. And that's exactly what I did.